Mate, I'm actually doing pretty well. This is going to be an exciting race, especially Baku. Obviously, we're just going to see a massive DRS train, but it's pretty much who can throw the car the most into the corners without smacking their wheel into the wall. But it's just keeping it clean and consistent, Lindsay, and that's what you got to do around this track. Just keep it clean, consistent, and make sure your front wing's clean and all that, and just try and have a good race and stay in the DRS pretty much. Uh, we will be right back in one moment. We're going to have to do a lobby restart.
what a great start to the stream, everyone. My mic wasn't on. Rad's mic wasn't on. The collisions weren't on, so we had to do a restart. It's a fantastic day, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, we figured that out better late than never. So, I'll do this another time. Hello and welcome everybody to the Rapid Tier 1 here in the Baku City Street Circuit. We're around Azerbaijan tonight for all the racing action. Lord Mahavir currently sits on provisional pole with a 48.9 to Jammy Dodgers 49.3 and now Vipers 49.3. Campbell Adams 48.2. So Thomas Reid is heading through the final sector. I apologise for all of the audio mix-ups and it being broken and everything like that. I did not realise. But we are here in qualifying. It is intermediate conditions, and it is going to be absolute cinema here as Thomas Reid to the line. 48.7 lining up on provisional the front row alongside Campbell Adams at this stage. As we'll now go to Farmer Sam, who is on a lap. And also, just a little bit of a disclaimer for those watching. So, let's go through the nicknames and usernames for tonight's proceedings. So, KFC is Campbell Adams, if you haven't been able to work that out by now. And then EV Chungus is Yusuf Goat. And then Sergio Perez is Warden. So, those are your nicknames on the grid tonight, just so you don't get a little bit confused. There's Farmer Sam pushing hard now. Let's see as he heads towards the line. No DRS, obviously. In the wet weather, what's it going to be for Farmer Sam? A 1 minute 49.9, and that's only P10 for him, but only just behind his teammate in the fellow Haas, as Josh Ioannidis is on an outlap and approaching the end of it, so he will be lining up for his first flying lap in the wet weather very soon. So Noodles is just going to be warming up and getting mentally prepared for the lap. So we'll go on board with the V-Carb as he gets geared up for a lap. So he won't turn on the battery for just a little bit. You don't want to turn it on too early, otherwise you won't have the battery for the end of the lap. So here we go. A wet lap on board with Josh Ioannidis in the Baku City Circuit. And now he should be turning on the battery soon enough. Yes, he does. No DRS in the wet. So down towards turn one. Very long straight, approaching 320-ish Ks an hour and heavy on the anchors just before the 100. Third gear, tip it through, and then very slow on the power out. This track has no grip even in the dry. And now in the wet, it makes it even more slippery. Cut the curb, third gear on the inside, and already wheel spinning a lot there for Ioannidis as he heads down the straight. Not an optimal sector one for him whatsoever, and he still has two more corners to negotiate of the first sector, braking just before the 100. Third gear, tip it across. He's not flirting with the barriers yet in this qualifying session. He just needs to get an eye in these wet conditions as he powers out now, runs up to the second sector. 39.0, that's slower than Trent's earlier efforts in the first sector at the beginning of the qualifying session. Braking in between the 100 and the 50, cut the curb on the inside and then power out. A lot of wheel spin for the RB as into the castle section. Don't hit the inside wall. Noodles had to correct. He would have lost a lot of lap time from that one, but at least he didn't DNF from the session, and he continues on now towards the third sector. So through the flat out kinks should be no problem even in this weather. And then heavy on the anchors for the V-Carb. Powering out now and still just struggling. I think that the track is relatively dry at this point, so I think we will see people come out on the dry tyres as long as it's just not my visuals being a little bit bugged out. As now through the flat out, left, right, Noodles just taking a little bit of a lift, taking it safe now as he runs up towards the line in the V-Carb. Currently provisional poles are 48.214 and then P2's a 48.7. Where will he stack up in that? He's not going to stack up at all. He's going to come into the pit lane as still drivers out on the intermediates, but Thomas Reid comes in as well. I think that it's still intermediate conditions in the driver's cockpit. No, Viper is out on softs and Jammy Dodge is out on softs, so it is now dry tyre time, which is why we didn't see Noodles complete his lap. So this is really heating up here in Baku.
Yeah, it's definitely a missed conditions in the Baku Street Circuit, and obviously we're pretty much getting a showdown here for this pole position. And right now, as it stands, Campbell's pretty much got a 5/10 cushion between himself and Thomas as well. But it's gonna be good to see who can get the fastest soft tire lap. And yeah, I think during Noodles' I think first corner, it pretty much just stopped raining and the track was just getting clearer and clearer. As Farmer Sam goes to the top with the 47.8, but that definitely will get smashed by one of these soft runners. But it does look like there's a bit of uh, wetness coming on the exit still, so I don't think uh, it's softs just yet. But we'll see from the looks of Viper, who's just about to start his lap, but then also Jamie's started his lap. So we'll say on board with him for now, and his rear grip is really struggling coming out of turn one, but also the rear grip here at Baku, it's hard as it is. We got a car in the wall, and that looks to be Dal Beveridge in the Mercedes, who's in the wall, and I'd say it's not dry as yet, Lindsay.
Yeah, maybe so, as we're on board with Jammy, and just looks like he has absolutely no grip out there. We'll see what the sector split is when he heads towards the end of the sector, but it does not look positive for the dry tyres, which is actually a bit baffling, as the track looks completely bone dry, but still no grip, so maybe a little bit of a visual bug going on here in F124, but what more can we expect from this absolutely fantastic game with no problems at all, as we know, as they push through the middle
Love your
sector.
enthusiasm.
And pushing through the castle section goes Jammy, and he just looks like he's struggling a load, and I think that it's still into his time, but I think by the end of the session, surely it'll go to dry conditions, but due to what is clearly a visual bug, we don't really know. It could still be completely wet out there as far as we're aware. I mean, Farmer Sam doing a 47.8 doesn't vouch for that fact, though, but maybe just not quite dry tyres yet.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that was Abyss has got a end plate damage, so looks like some down to Dal Beveridge has retired. He's pretty much hit the same area where Abyss is hit, down at the kink down the hill before the end of the sector 2 line, the start of the sector 3. So are these conditions starting to catch up people, as well as we've got a cheeky what now prediction, Lindsay, and he's told me to read it. So here we go. P1 the Perez person, P2 Sammy, P3 Thomas, P4 Dale, P5 Mahavir, P6 Noodles, the ramen bowl dish of Italy, P7 Rilo, P8 Manri, P9 Cello, P10 Potato, P11 KFC, P12 Abyss, P13 Viper, P14 Fins, P15 ZK, P16 Trent, P17 Thomas, P18 ZK, wait, changes TK, I don't know, P19 whoever I missed, 5 safety cars, 5 VSCs, Drunk, and first DNF Noodles, GG, Drunk, Driver of the Day, Mr. KFC, fastest lap, Rilo, funniest nickname ever, Mr. KFC, and hi, Lindsay and J-Rad.
19 DNFs as well. Interesting.
Yeah, 19 DNFs.
Interesting predictions from what now? And I have to say, there's a little bit of a contradiction as well, because he's predicted P6 Noodles, but also first DNF as Noodles. And I know why he said changes TK. That's EVE Chungus, if use of GOAT. So he's jumping in on the TK bashing, I think, J-Rat.
Oh, yeah, right. I was like, huh?
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, you go.
I think now, when Jamie came out, I think it was still wet. Now it looks like people are having more confidence under these soft compound tires. I'm just on board with Thomas Reed coming through the castle section, coming out of the castle section, and doesn't look like it. He's still struggling for rear grip. So Kawakai's retired as well. He's retired in the pits, and we've got 4 minutes to go. Do we reckon there's going to be any chances of people sending a solid dry lap?
Yeah, I'm very confused as to what is going on with the conditions right now. Thomas Reed only 8/10 up on his Inters lap, so clearly the track is just, it's quicker, but it's almost like it's greasy. That doesn't exist on the F1 game, as far as I'm aware. But it's like it's greasy in real life when it's rained, but it hasn't quite dried up. And Thomas is just going to head into the pit lane. So the dry tyres not really working. You can find a marginal improvement, but currently the driver on provisional pole with a 46.3 is still Lord Mahavir on the Inters. So I think that the Inters might still be the tyre of choice, as lap time's only in the 46s. That is nowhere near Baku pace, and clearly the track's still not optimal.
Well, Warden, Sergio Perez, he's up a second and 2/10. So he'll pretty much put himself in the 47s. So I think the track's improving as we go down the laps, as we go down the time. So I'd say if people want to go on the softs, go out now. As Warden comes up to the line, puts himself on a P2, there's a 47.6. Fastest third sector. I believe his wings are very low. Obviously, that's his reputation. He loves running low wings. But we've got 2.5 minutes to go, and people are now coming out as we speak. And judging by look at the tyre compound, everyone on the soft tyre. So we could have we're going to have a last lap dash to see who gets provisional pole for tonight's race.
Yeah, and the driver to first kick off the final runs will be Abyss. He's out there, he's in the third sector nearly, and he will be about to make his dash towards the line to begin a lap. He's in the Ferrari, he went out first, he just wants to make sure that if he does make a mistake, he'll have enough time for a second lap, but I don't think he will. He's just taking his time, and he's really trying to get heat in the tyres. That could be the problem, looking at his weaving. Maybe they just can't get the tyres up to temperature for whatever reason. So it'd be really interesting to see how this all pans out for all of the drivers. But Abyss is heading through the slalom section and is about to begin a lap. Do you want to take this one away, J-Rad?
Yeah, most definitely. So Abyss in the Ferrari. He was very competitive over the last few races. Now it is time for him to maybe even suffice himself in the pole position spot as he heads towards turn 1, 8th gear into the first corner, flicks the car in beautifully, 3rd gear, getting a little bit loosey-goosey on the exit, but that's just the rear grip around here. Throwing the car into turn 2, 3rd gear as well, and back on the power as we head up towards the turn 3. Very easy to hit the wall on the entry. As he comes in, he just does that beautifully. So he's done a very crucial first half of that first sector so far, and he's just throwing the car in. Bouncing over the curb there was what you don't really want to do, as you might lose a little bit of time there into this complex here. He's up by pretty much nearly 2.5 seconds, Lindsay. The track is definitely improving. This is the time now to be on the dry tyre, and I'm pretty sure everyone's on their laps at the moment. He's invalidated. He's flicked the car in too much before the castle section, and that's going to be him down in P13 as it stands, as Jack Humphreys has joined the session as well. So he'll be definitely starting from the back of the grid, but Abyss could have been in that, probably around that top 5, and he might be starting P13. That's if he doesn't get a lap in, which he won't now.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. He'll definitely be starting in that back area. I'm currently looking at Oxchillo, who is pushing hard through the first sector. He's about to go towards the final corner of the first sector. Let's see how far up is he on his delta. He has a 49.3 currently as his best lap time. As he crosses the line, he's 3.1 seconds up, so that had already put him ahead of Mahavir in the timing table. So he will be on provisional pole if it stays as is at the moment, but he won't be the only driver improving. The track here in the final 2 minutes of this session has ramped up exponentially as he heads into the castle section. Full commitment. You don't want to crash, but you also need to find all the lap time available to you, as Chillo really giving it his absolute all here in the V-Carb. No slipstream, no nothing here with collisions off. It all comes down to the driver, and what a track to have it like that. Such a testing circuit here in Baku City. He completely hops the curb. That is an impressive send through the last corner of the middle sector. Now, currently, he is 7 seconds up. He's absolutely flying as Warden is on provisional pole with a 42.7. Chillo is looking to knock that out of the park at this current stage. Josh Ioannidis 41.8. What can Chillo respond to that? He's heading towards the line now in the other V-Carb. Can he place himself up the top of the order? I'm sure that he can now. Oxchillo towards the line, 1 minute 41.1.
Oh my, that is a great lap. And then 40.9 from KFC. Unbelievable. Thomas Reed jumps up to second with the 41 flat. Finn's jump. All the times just came in.
Yeah, and Rilo cements himself in P4. So your pole sitter in Azerbaijan will be Campbell Adams, nearly a 10th.5 clear of Thomas Reed, who locks out the front row. These two, ever too familiar with each other. And same with Oxchillo at the edge of the top 3. Then you have Rilo rounding out the second row. Then Finn's, Jammy, Ioannidis a little bit further back than he would have liked, I'm sure. Mahavir, then Sam, Viper, Potato will not be happy with that final run in P11. Then Warden, ZK, Munry, Trent, Kalki, Abyss, Yusuf and Dale Beveridge, and then Jack Humphreys will be up the rear as well. So that is a very tight end to this qualifying session.
Yeah, and the biggest shock from that is definitely Abyss. Starting way back down the order, even Taipen's starting way back down the order as well. So that was unbelievable. So that quali definitely threw some spanners in the works, but we'll come back soon as we'll have to restart once again, set the custom grid up because obviously we've got ghosting on for the qualifying. And yeah, but it's going to be weird to see what happens in this race, Lindsay.
Yeah, it is going to be really interesting, but we'll be right back after a brief lobby restart because of the collisions off in qualifying. Alrighty, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is race time here in Rapid Tier 1. And it is the usual suspects on the front row. Campbell Adams in P1 with Thomas Reid in P2. Then your second row is Rilo, I think. Or is it? No, it's Chillo, then Rilo in fourth place. So those are your front two rows. It is going to be an exciting race start with a lot of contenders starting further back than they'd like.
Yeah, most definitely one of those people that we're going to have to be looking out for. They probably dash from the back to the front. Actually, two people. It's probably definitely Taipan and Abyss. So they're going to have to cut their way through the field. Probably try and maybe even go for an undercut strategy, Lindsay. Especially at any circuit, the undercut is a beautiful strategy. And especially here, you've pretty much got to make the undercut work. You've got to have a DRS buddy. So it's safe to say we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of that. A lot of rivals teaming up with each other just to try and make the undercut work. But it's all here to play for.
Yeah, a very low wing circuit as well, so overtaking, especially in the DRS train, is even more tricky than usual as you gain less of an advantage from the DRS. So it is going to be absolutely critical that everybody works together, because if you lose that DRS, you're not going to get it back. It is almost impossible to gain DRS back. So it's all going to be about the drivers getting along until the final stages where it really matters, and then the gloves can come off. So now we get ready to line up for the race start. The strategy will be medium to hard or hard to medium, depending on what the drivers are confident in and how many safety cars they might expect. But I'd expect to see a bit of a split as we come to the 5 red lights here in Azerbaijan. And we are underway for racing action as both Thomas Reid and Campbell Adams get off to a good start as they dive down towards turn 1. Rilo and Chillo are wheel to wheel for the P3. Chillo holds on. Finn's trying to battle away with Jamie as well, who finds himself under pressure. And there's a big bunch up the back as Mahavir and Farmer Sam go side by side. And they're still side by side as they head down the straight. A lot of cars going wheel to wheel down the back as Thomas Reid is also going to make a move. And he's going to get past and take the lead from Campbell Adams as the long way round goes Farmer Sam on Lord Mahavira's Potato, scrapping away with Viper as well as they head through towards the end of the first sector. But now they're going to have a real hard time going side by side through this sector of the racetrack, and Mahavir knows that, backs out, slots into P9. Hopefully he doesn't find himself under any pressure for his sake, as ZK in the background was wheel to wheel with Munry through the left right, and they're still side by side, and down the inside goes Trent Newton on ZK as well as they head towards the castle section. Who will back out? If anybody, you don't want to go side by side here, and they don't go side by side, but Kalki collects the back of Trent as well.
And what a great start from Abyss as well. Up 5 places already. We haven't finished a full lap yet as Manry's gone down the inside past Perez, and he's up in a P13. And what you don't want to do here on this first lap is lose the DRS and just pretty much get yourself into a rhythm. Just get yourself into a rhythm and work together with the people around you. And Thomas has already jumped a second on Campbell Adams here in this first lap, but that gap will come down as we speak, and it's just he's been dominant off the start so far. And Oxchiller looking for a move on Campbell Adams as well into turn 1, and he's got that move done into P2. Bear in mind, Oxchiller and KFC Boy are fighting out for the lead in this championship. So whoever pretty much finishes ahead is the new leader of the championship. So it's going to be a wild fight tonight, but as it stands, DRS train stays the same. Manry losing already second and a half, pretty much nearly 2 seconds from Abyss. So from 13 down is going to be a split train. The Kicks Hours pretty much making split trains as they're out of the 1 second gap, Lindsay.
Yeah, and it's going to be really difficult for Mahavir to try close back into that 1 second, and then also Munry, I doubt we'll be able to close back in 2 seconds. That'll be very difficult, but Mahavir sitting right there, teetering on that 1 second margin to Josh Ioannidis in P7, and he'll really want to make sure he's in the good end of that, and it looks like he's going to stay inside that 1 second and keep the P8 to P12 cars in the front train for the moment, but Campbell Adams is really
Whoa.
struggling, and he's hit the wall and
He's
gotten
fucking-
wing
yeah.
damage. He's ghosted, and he's not even just an end plate that he's missing. He's missing quite a lot of the right-hand side of his wing, and that is not what Campbell Adams wants if he wants to try and get the championship lead in this race, because he will have to pit. He has no choice around it now. Missing half of his wing, he is going to pull to the left-hand side of the straight, and he'll be into the pit lane, and he's going to have to pull off the undercut of his life if he wants to get back into this.
And the hards won't last that long till the end as well. His rears will cook themselves alive towards the back end of the race. But for the championship, it is off to a bad start for him. And yeah, I was right on board with the car behind of Fins and Rilo, and you just see I think he just set the car in a bit too much, and he just hit the wall. So pushing too much on the early stages in the race can really cost you, and it's showing right now for Campbell Adams. And Fins is out of the DRS from the top two. So basically what now Thomas and Oxchillo can do now is just work together and leave the pack behind.
Yeah, and I don't know if Thomas Reid is willing to work together. I think he is trying to break the DRS. If he can break DRS, it'd be a sigh of relief for him in the cockpit, but Chillo won't make that easy. They're both very, very fast, very, very talented drivers, and it'll be a hard task for Thomas Reid to break the DRS, but with a little bit of battery use, that is what he's trying to do. He still has a while to detection, so he's going to have to give it his all, but if he can break DRS, that'd be nice for his race, but not for the others, and I have to say, of all the tracks, of all the rounds so far, we've had the opening 3, we had a break, now we're back at Baku. This is the biggest gap we've seen upon all of the cars this season. It's been very, very close otherwise, and there's still a close train in that midfield, but up the front, definitely a little bit more separated than we're used to seeing this season.
Yeah, most definitely, and a safety car would help these boys in the mid-pack in their favour. But as it stands, as we've got Viper making a move on Farmer Sam, Lord Marvia up overtaking Ryler for P7, Potato overtaking Farmer Sam as well. So Farmer Sam losing 2 positions in that process. Even Manry losing 2 positions as well, dropping out of P14. But in opening state, I think it's because we haven't had a track as complex as Baku. The Sector 2, you've got to get it dead right, and it takes a long time for the drivers to get to the DRS zones. You've only got the main straight, and then you've got the little back straight. After that, you've got to keep within that 1 second, otherwise you screw your race over. And it's showing for some of these drivers as well, as Finn's in P3. He's 3 seconds behind the top 2. Yeah,
really struggling, and we know that Finn's isn't quite on that Thomas Reid, Oxchillo, Campbell Adams sort of stratosphere, at least not yet during this season. We know that those 3 have been the dominant force in this season, with Ioannidis trying to also get his nose in there sometimes as well. So it does make sense that he drops off, but 3 seconds in 4 laps is definitely nothing to not write home about. It is a big margin. And another driver that I definitely didn't expect to see struggling to find his way through the field, but he actually doesn't have DRS to the cars in front, is the man that started in last, Jack Humphreys, currently sitting in P16 without DRS to the car in front of him. He looks to be really struggling here to find his way through the field and even just find any pace.
Yeah, it's very weird to see him that obviously started last because he didn't set a qualifying lap, but he's been known as one of the quickest drivers in OCE, and to see him down in 16th and struggling for pace, it shows you could be one of the best to ever do it, but you could struggle to catch up, and it shows how important the slipstream and the DRS is, as Jamie has now overtaken Fins for P3. So it's pretty much the rivals from last season. Jamie and Chillo are sharing the podium spots already, and the top 2, I don't even think they're just going to try and pull away. The gap is now nearly 3.5 seconds, so they're putting pretty much half a second a lap if these boys in the train start. If they don't work together, but if they start working together, they could try and at least ease in that gap. But it's going to be a lot of hard work for them to do, and I think the undercut's probably their best interest.
Yeah, and I think that a safety car at the right time will also help all of these drivers, because no matter what, that bunches you up, and I think that's exactly what Jack Humphreys needs at the moment, and I think that's also exactly what Campbell Adams needs. He's still 10 seconds off the back of Warden in P18, so it is definitely going to be the best for him if there's a safety car at any point, but still working your way through the field will be no easy feat. At a track like Baku, it's so close, it's almost impossible to find your way through at times. The track's so tight. You have plenty of DRS, you can swap around, but actually maintaining a place is definitely another thing at this circuit, as we see Potato go wheel to wheel with Rilo through turn 1, and Abyss tried to get his nose in on Viper as well here for the P7 position. Mahavir 2.7 seconds up the road from him, so this little P7 to P11 train is not too bad. When it comes to battling, they're all just giving it their all at the moment, and the battling will continue as there's a yellow flag, and that's ZK slow up the back without a wing as well, so that is not the sort of moment you want to be having, and it doesn't cause a safety car either to boot, so he'll just find himself without a wing, trundling off the back, no DRS, and he just has to get back to the pits without hitting the wall again, but that is really, really inopportune for ZK.
Yeah, and I think he just lost rear grip coming out of turn 2, and I think again, as we spoke of it early in the race, rear grip is probably gonna be your best friend or your worst enemy going into the dying laps, because if you put the power down a little bit too early or a little bit later, you can cost yourself. You have to put it down at the right moment and just be very easy with it. There's no room for error, especially at Baku. There's one mistake, you're in the wall, and you're done. Simple as that.
Yeah, and that's already been put on display a couple of times during this race as the battle for P7 is about to heat up. Viper made a mistake as well, so Abyss will be all over the back of him as they head down the straight. Will we see any tussling down towards turn 1? I happen to think we will, as Viper goes to the left-hand side of Rilo, and Abyss then goes to the left of him, and Abyss is going to go down the inside, nearly pulled up alongside Potato, and Abyss gets 2 down the straight. Trent Newton as well, battling away with Munry as they head down through turn 1, and that is Munry really just pushing Trent through the corner, as also Finns and Jammy further up the front on the second straight are swapping positions for the end of the podium, but still they're bleeding lap time to the top 2, and Chillo still hasn't taken the lead of this race at any point, so maybe this is showing that Thomas Reed has a lot less wing, or Chillo is just saving battery.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's just they're also trying to work together. The gap is at pretty much nearly 4.5 seconds between Jammy and Ox Chillo, and I think the top 2 are just gonna work together. They've been rivals in Wallaby and even in the Invitational for the OCF1. So it's gonna be good to see these two battle out together once again. But it's just sort of say it's just who's gonna pit first, who's gonna does Oxchiller go for the move to P1, or does he just stay behind knowing that Lefty is the faster driver and will wait for an opportunity to pounce?
Yeah, that is the main question, as Chillo is right up behind Thomas Reed now, so this is the real showing of it. I think this is going to be the first time he takes the lead of the race. Yes, it is. He sweeps through into the P1 place. He had absolutely no choice. He was only a 10th behind Thomas as they headed down the straight, and he now takes the lead for the first time. Will Reed try and take this back straight away, or will he wait? It'll be interesting to see if he does just try and take it back and command the race once again or not, and that is just really going to come down to a driver mentality, as Abyss is not waiting around. As we head further and further in, that becomes more apparent as Jammy and Finn swapping around once again. But he forced his way to the front of this train. I think that his intention is to try and close up to Mahavir, but it's no easy task. It is going to be very, very tricky, as it's the P3 to P6 train. They aren't going slow by any stretch of the imagination, so catching 3 seconds will be quite tricky for Abyss to pull off, but I'm sure that he's confident that he'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I reckon so too. He's definitely got the pace there, but since he's leading the train, he's got no one really else behind him who can really help him in the pace department. It's just pretty much trying to catch up as soon as as soon as possible and get himself back into the fight for at least a podium place, as he started all the way down in pretty much, was it 16th, 15th place, beside his teammate who's sitting in P14 at the moment, who hasn't really had a good run thus far at the moment. We're only at lap 8 out of 26, and as it stands, Jamie's pulling away from Finn's. You see that he's just out of the 9, was just pretty much at the 9/10 mark, and nearly got a cushion of a 1 second as Thomas now gets to move back on Oxcello and retakes the lead as we head on to lap 9 out of 26. Mojave maybe looking for a move on Noodles, heading into turn 1, but stays behind very low on the ERS as well. So he's got to try and save, but if he does save, will he drop back into the clutches of Viper and Abyss? Speaking of Viper and Abyss, Viper has overtaken Abyss for P7, and Jamie's gotten the move done back on Finn's once again. So I don't know what's going on here. It's just it's memorizing how it looks like they're trying to work together, but they're really not, Lindsay.
Yeah, it is probably just a little bit of not knowing how to work together at Baku. It's fairly tricky because you've got to swap around, but you need to know when to swap around. I think that second straight is when we're seeing Jamie and Finn swap around as well down the main straight. So they're just swapping straight to straight. They're not tussling too much. They're just swapping around and seeing if they can close in. I think that they're doing it the most efficient way that they possibly can. So I do think that they are working together, but I don't think it's paying dividends for them as they just continually lose time to those top two. But what more can you expect? You're trying to chase down two of the fastest drivers we know in the region as well. So no easy feat, and I-80s is struggling a lot. I know that from about lap 6 onwards, the mediums really, really die off, and it's really showing. Every time he goes through a braking zone, he just drifts the entire corner. He's really suffering with the setup, I think, maybe not being dialed in exactly to his driving style, and it's meaning that he's struggling to stay on the back of the two that are tussling in front of him. And in fact, he nearly lost DRS. He's outside a second. He is still outside a second, but he does have the DRS down this straight. So let's see if he can hold on the detection zones in a couple of moments' time. He'll have to nail turn 1 if he wants to hold on to the DRS, or will it split into another sub-train? I don't think it will, as Abyss gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is not optimal for his race, and it's not optimal for I-80s either, who loses the DRS to Jamie and Finns.
Yeah, and it goes to show his tyres are definitely struggling. I think it's definitely, we're going to see the likes of the top 10 box sooner or later. Probably around about now is when you really want to box, because as you can see from what we've seen from the drivers, the tyres are starting to drop off. The rears are starting to cook alive. The fronts are fine. I think, Lindsay, you and I have both driven this track. The front wear is fine. It's the rears that get eaten alive around this circuit, and you've got to be very easy with the throttle, because if you put so much throttle in the car, you can just spin the car, and that's it. As just was what I think Viper did. He cooked the car through the car section, and now he's lost a place to Potato. So he's now sitting in P8 as it stands.
Yeah, there's a lot of spread going on, and I think that Jamie is about to break DRS to Finns as well. I think he has successfully done it, but he's closing back in, so a little bit of batteries. We see it lap in, lap out, that Finns and Jamie just get really separated at the end of the lap, but they just managed to close back in, and Mahavir and I-80s lost the DRS to the two in front of them as well, so I think they're going to try and do the undercut now. No, Mahavir is into the pit lane. I-80s wants to go out another, which is absolutely baffling, as that is Viper very late to pull into the pit lane, cut the white line on the entry, and just decided to pull in. He wants none of it in the battle that he was about to be in, and Farmer Sam also comes into the pits. So this is the first wave of pit stops up and down the grid as Trent Newton gets a 10-second time penalty. That is taxing for his race down outside of the top 10, and now it'll be even worse for him as well. So that is not what he'll want, as Thomas Reed, Oxchillo, and some of the other front runners still yet to pit. This is going to be very interesting to see how the undercut is.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially we have to keep an eye on Lord Mojave, as well as pretty much Trent and Abyss's races could be thrown up in the dust from those 10-second time penalties. So I have to keep an eye on them if they box again for maybe even another set of mediums. But I hope does arise, we could see a safety car sooner or later. A safety car is bound to happen soon here at Azerbaijan. It's bound to happen, Lindsay. I think we're going to get at least one probably towards the end of the second stint. Maybe even the start of this stint around about now. But we'll see what happens as we'll look back up to we'll look at the front still. And Thomas has pretty much gotten 8 tenths over Oxchillo. But does he box? It looks like he's going to the left. So I think he definitely is. Does Chillo follow? Yes, he does. He follows suit. So the top two are in. Finns is diving into the pits. Noodles comes into the pits. I think Potato will definitely come in as well. Rilo will definitely follow Potato in as well. But I think the only 2 hard runners will probably be staying out will be, well, 3. Camel Adams, Warden, and Jack Humphreys, as well as Jamie gets past Jack Humphreys for P. I think it'll be now, he'll be provisional P3. Gets the jump on Finns as well, massively. Actually, not massively, he's slotted behind Jack Humphreys, but it's just getting those tyres up to speed and making sure to not lose the DRS out to the cars ahead. But right now, Jamie is pretty much sitting in the provisional P3.
Yeah, and that is good for his race, definitely. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with being in a position of further up the grid. Obviously, he has been in P3, but now he has a big train right up behind him. So this is definitely fascinating to see how this will all pan out. There's still 14 laps to go here in Azerbaijan. And still, the race result is not clear. We still have drivers climbing their way through the field as well. Campbell Adams currently in P8, in a bit of no man's land right now. He does have a car 7 tenths behind him, but he also has to close up to Mahavir, who's just in front of him. But he's done an impressive job after a lap 2 mistake to find himself in that mid-pack after the pit stops. But his tyres will not be in an optimal state, so he's just going to have to use the pace that he has over the rest of these drivers to continue to muscle his way through the field, but definitely easier said than done here in Baku.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the biggest loser coming out of those pit stops was definitely Noodles. He's dropped way off and he's dropped out of pretty much the DRS. So now he's going to be hunted down by Farmer Sam and Red Bull of Viper, as well as Finns is now up into P4, getting the overtake done on Jack Humphreys. And Mahavir losing out in DRS to the boys up ahead, which is very concerning since he's only on 2 laps of the hard tyre. So, as it stands, it's not looking good for him thus far, but it's looking very good for the top 2 and even Jamie.
Yeah, he is looking quite comfortable, but he is going to have to fend off the attacking Finns, and it'll be very close, I think, towards the end, and also the battle for the win is truly on. Still half of this race left to see, half of this race left to witness, and yeah, the Chillo and Thomas Reed fight will not stop. They'll swap around with the DRS for quite a while, but I think when we get to lap 20 and beyond, we'll see a little bit more wheel-to-wheel action between these two, so it'll be a very close finish to the race, but we will take our eyes off them as them swapping around in the DRS. Definitely not the most entertaining of things, but Jamie is really trying to book it. We saw him nearly break the DRS range on Finns earlier on in this race, and he got very, very close on this lap, but it's closed back in towards 6 tenths, but he's mighty through this third sector, but Finns just uses a bit of battery to hold on, so let's see towards the DRS line now. The gap is nearly a second. Jamie will be fuming. He gets so close, but it's not close enough for him. Lap in, lap out, he gets 9 tenths and can't quite bridge the extra 10th, but it does put him in a good position in the end of the race. If he has that 9 tenths, it's definitely not optimal when it comes to overtaking opportunities for Finns as he clears past Jamie. So I think that he'll use the fact that he can stretch 9 tenths to his advantage later on in the race.
Yeah, most definitely. I think these two are just going to try and work together. Probably even trying to disband from the pack behind them. But obviously it's going to be very difficult. It's just got to see who's the faster driver in the second sector. Is pretty much where you make or break the DRS train. Pretty much is through the second sector. A lot of traction zones. A lot of corners where you can gain or lose time, especially through the castle section. The level of bravery that you have to have around this circuit is immeasurable. So to see Jamie now pull 7/10, he's trying to push the car in a way to try and get Finn's away from Jack Humphries, but Humphries is just sticking behind.
Yeah, he's looking comfortable at the moment. He just wants to stay stationed, I think. He just wants to make advantage later on in this race. As we'll quickly look at penalties. So, Warden has a 3-second time penalty, but the two most crucial penalties, and the only other two penalties in this race, is the fact that Abyss has a 10-second time penalty, and Trent Newton also has a 10-second time penalty. Both of them sped into the pit lane, and that is really damaging, especially for Abyss, who's currently fighting at the brink for P8, but after a 10-second time penalty, he'll be absolutely nowhere. He'll be nearly, or maybe even behind Rilo, which is not what he'll want at all. He's driving such a strong race after not quite so much of a strong qualifying, and it's all going to come undone because of a 10-second time penalty, at least at this stage.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think if there's no safety cars whatsoever, that's going to hurt both of their races indefinitely. Yeah. Especially Abyss's. I think he's obviously Trent's out of the points, and Abyss will drop down, maybe even out of the, as it stands, outside the points. So, which could be really hurtful in his championship fights, especially with that top 5. So it's looking to see who can just pretty much have the most pace and all that, and yeah, it's just all to play for here in these dying moments. And I think Paris has let Noodles through. He knows he's got the penalty. He's not he's not racing him, and he's gonna let him go, and hopefully Noodles can catch back up to Abyss before the DRS line.
Yeah, it is going to be very, very close for Ioannidis. Can he get back in to 1 second? I don't think so. It's close to Abyss. The gap 1.3 seconds, but he has a massive train of cars behind him, so he needs this DRS if he wants to hold on to it. As he heads into the slalom section, he's burning his battery. He wants to be inside a second, but will he be inside a second as they head over the detection? Nearly, but not quite, I think, for Ioannidis. He won't have the DRS, but that was so close. And Abyss ahead of him also doesn't have DRS, so he still has time, and he is back within a second now. So he'll have the DRS from now on, but crucially for him, Abyss without DRS, he'll just have to try and close another gap again as Viper going wheel to wheel with Warden as they head down towards turn 2. They went wheel to wheel at turn 1. They continue the scrap, and Viper gets through on Warden and is now the next car behind Ioannidis, but he does not have the DRS in that. Oh, he does have the DRS down this straight, but he's not in the DRS range of Ioannidis at this point, so he's going to have to give it a push here if he wants to get back within a second and stay inside the DRS of Ioannidis as he's continuing to hunt down Abyss in that Ferrari, and he's now right up behind him with the 10-second time penalty. He has the provisional position, but now hopefully Abyss is willing to work with him. I think that's what he'll be hoping in the cockpit, is he'll want to try and catch up to Campbell Adams, who is now almost on the back of the train for the P6, P5, and P4 positions. So he's nearly behind Humphries. Once he clears Humphries, he'll have to chase Mahavir, but from there, he should be in the DRS range, and the podium will be within his grasp soon enough here with 10 laps to go. Campbell Adams, after a mistake in the opening laps, is showing what he's made of here. He's doing the drive of a champion at this stage.
Most definitely, but it's just, when are those hard tyres gonna expire? When are they gonna pop? Because remember, he did pit lap 2, so he's gonna have to go to insane strengths to make those tyres last to the end of this race. As Farmer Sam now gets the move done on Warden, and maybe even past his teammate as well on the main straight, and he gets the move done. Warden slips past him as well. Not as a stage to go, they make a little bit of contact there, make more contact, and they're both on the wall.
Oh no, that is not what either of them need, as that is severe damage on the Aston Martin. Potato in the P14 has as well also has sustained damage to his front wing, and that is the opposite of what they want. Rilo also has damage on his McLaren, so that is 3 drivers with damage and a costly incident. Potato hits the wall again. He's just driving with frustration at the moment as they have 9 laps to go in Azerbaijan, and this is not the point in the race where you want to make a mistake, as now he has Trent all over the back of him. Trent will not want to raid around either. He's going to want to get the move done on Potato straight away, so let's see what Trent will muster up as they head through the middle sector, as they head towards the castle. He won't go for it here, but I can absolutely assure you that Trent will make quick work of Potato, but when and where is he going to try and go for a move in the Alpine? He's right up behind. He'll just want to get past. He has a 10-second. Any position is valuable for him in the car from Enstone, and he just needs to make up time as fast as he can. And with Rilo knocking on his door as well, he needs to try and get a buffer car in between them. Potato will surely come into the pit lane in a moment's time.
Yeah, most definitely. That's going to hurt his race as well. That was a very unfortunate incident between himself and Warden. I think those two got a little bit scrappy on the exit, and it all just ended up both of them pretty much throwing their races in the bin, especially Warden, who had to pit as well, probably around now for the, I'd say he'd be going for the softs at this stage. Campbell Adams has made the move on Mojave as we speak, so now he's now up into P5. This is an amazing performance from Campbell Adams. Pretty much a lap 2 incident with himself outbraking himself out through the corner, and he's now up into P5. This is showing that he has got pace. He's got what it takes to be the next champion.
Yeah, but the person he's in the championship fight with is in 2nd place at the moment, and I think the maximum that Campbell Adams will find himself closing to will probably be P3, which is exactly what he needs. It's the position behind Chilo, but he will still extend his lead on the championship, but it won't be by too much, but it's still a tall order for him to catch Jamie and Finns, but he definitely has the pace and the want to as well, but a P5 still not a bad recovery at all, considering where he was. He's just giving it absolutely everything he can, but I think secretly in the cockpit he'll be really hoping for a safety car, which, considering it's lap 18 around the Baku City circuit, I'm absolutely stunned and impressed all at the same time that there hasn't been a safety car yet. It is one of the most common tracks to have a safety car at. Tier 2 last night had 2 safety cars plus 2 VSCs as far as the memory serves. So definitely not an easy track at all, and normally the safety cars are there to prove it, but not at this stage.
No, most definitely is now. Jack Humphries is in to the pits. Viper got the move done on Noodles as well, so now he's up into P8, provisionally P7. Jamie and Finn swapping positions.
Yeah, so they swapped around places, as they have been doing frequently, as Mahavir just still putting pressure on the back of Campbell Adams, and I think maybe he's reached as far as he can go. I think the hard tyres might have given up on that McLaren, as he's losing time to Finns and Jamie, who also work together in the DRS, which is not something that Campbell has the luxury of. And once you get to this point of the grid, trying to close up with the DRS without DRS is very, very difficult. So Campbell will definitely have his work cut out for him, but I think maybe P5 will be the most he can go, at least if there is no safety cars. Zainides is really struggling tonight. He's not having the round that he has had in prior races. Brazil was a highlight for Ioannidis. He had a very good result there, and he's just been all-round strong, but Baku really not suited to him at this point. Currently sitting in P9, fighting for what will be provisionally P7 after Abyss's penalty. And, yeah, not what he wants at all, but still a reasonable result considering the fact that he's struggling.
Yeah, most definitely, especially when he was pretty much around in that top 5 sequence, and it looks like he was going to be on par for maybe even a top 5, maybe in a podium. And the pit stops happened, the tyre jag happened, and it just has I'd say it's thrown his race in the bin. I reckon that's what he's thinking right now, like, yeah, he could be there in the top 5 as it stands, fighting with Finns, Jamie, even Oxchiller and Thomas. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a good, solid points finish for him. He'll probably most likely come home in P7 if Abyss doesn't catch. If Abyss does catch up to Campbell and Mahavir, who's, I think Campbell's now starting to struggle. The immense pace that we saw from him when he pitted, he's pretty much stuck behind Mahavir. He hasn't been able to escape it, and judging by his rear grip starting to slip away from him, you can see the rear just trying to, it's just stepping aside. Oh, I can't even speak English. It's, what's the word?
Stepping out.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stepping out. It's going out sideways. It's doing something.
Yeah, so Campbell will be tested to hold on to the P5, but even more crucial in the grand scheme of this race is that Thomas Reid has broken DRS to Oxchillo. He's been hunting to do it all race, and now the gap is just under a second, but through the detection it was a second. So we see now that Chillo has better straight line speed through the corners. It looks like Reid has the number over Oxchillo at the moment, so Chillo will have DRS now, but Thomas Reid has now shown that he can break it, and we'll see if he can do it again. The gap currently 9/10, but Chillo with the DRS, with 5 laps to go here in Azerbaijan. This is going to be really interesting. Thomas will be driving the wheels off of that Alpine, but so will Chillo in his V-Carb. So he's teetering on the edge of breaking the DRS again already. If he can get a good gap through the middle sector and towards the final sector, it could be wraps for this race. If he can stay outside that 1 second gap, if Oxchillo can't stay inside of it, Thomas Reid will already have this race in the palm of his hand.
Most definitely, he's just got to keep it consistent in these last dying laps, and as it stands, the gap is now pretty much 1.1 seconds. It's pretty much Oxchillo needs to just pretty much deploy some of this battery. And if he loses DRS, it's all over. Unless Left 4 Dead does make a mistake in the dying laps, as what Campbell did on lap 2. Anything can happen. The best drivers in the world always makes the slightest of mistakes, and could pretty much can throw their race away just like that. And as it stands, he is not gonna get DRS.
Yeah, we saw this on the last lap. It was outside of a second, but Chillo was able to get back in down the straight, but both of them this time not using the battery down the straight, so Chillo didn't close in that much. Will he have DRS down the next straight? I don't think that he will, so that is absolutely crucial for this race. We know that Thomas can find a good few tenths through the middle sector as well, so now 1.1 seconds, and I think that this gap will continue to extend with 4 laps to go. Chillo will be hard tested to get back inside if Thomas Reid doesn't make a mistake, so without the DRS it is going to be very difficult for Oxchillo to close back in. He's still teetering on the edge of 1 second, but if Thomas Reid comfortably breaks this, if he comfortably gets the gap, he will win this race no matter what Oxchillo tries to do.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of bit of contact down the back as well. The 2 Ferraris, the Red Bull and the RBs, all pretty much battling each other. There's a little bit of contact between the Ferrari of Abyss and Viper, and I don't think there was any damage, but it was getting a little bit there's a little bit of action going on. There's like a boxing fight happening on the track as well. Just a little bit of a punch on towards the end of this race, but we're now at lap 22 out of 26, and it's fair to say with Left 4 Dead teetering over that 1 second, that could pretty much solidify his victory in the race, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be Thomas and Chillo pretty much first and second, but the question mark is over P3. Is it going to be Jamie, or is it going to be Finns taking home that P3 spot?
Yeah, it is a good question, and Finns just being able to stay within the DRS all race. Jamie has been the faster driver overall, but he's just not been able to break the DRS, and that's showing as they swap around once again. It is going to be whoever's second place on the last lap of the race in their little fight. So whoever's in 4th place on the timing tower will probably take home the P3 on the final lap. But that's also not a guarantee, depending on how much battery is saved up, as Jamie is going to swap around and take the lead in his little battle with Finns once again, as we're on lap 23 of 26. So now the gloves will come off. All of these drivers will just be giving it absolutely everything they have without crashing, trying to get the highest possible position they can on the grid, as Dale Beveridge gets a 10-second speeding into the pit lane. But being in the pit lane at the end stage of this race means he probably wasn't going to go anywhere with it anyway. But speeding into the pit lane is definitely a common penalty we're seeing here in Azerbaijan, and I think that Dale will just try go for a fastest lap attempt, but he'll be hard tested to try and get it, as this battle for P7 is really on. It's Kalki, Ioannidis, Abyss who has a penalty, Viper and Farmer Sam all together in a train with 3 laps to go, and it's anybody's guess as to who will get the P7 points, and it is not like it's a bad rack of points either. P7, not a bad place to finish in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, most definitely, and I think even like Kalkai as well, we said at the start of the race, is down towards the back. He's now up in P7. He's doing really well as it stands, but can Noodles finish P7, or will he drop back into the clutches of Abyss and Viper? But judging by it, he gets the move done. He's now up in a P7, but can he solidify this with only 3 laps to go in this race and a long straight ahead? And safe to say, first and second have solidified themselves on the podium, and the gap is now 2 seconds between Thomas and Oxchillo. So there's no reason to be looking at that. Campbell Adams all over the back of the Kicksabber of Mahavier as well, sitting in P5. So this is going to be another spicy battle for watch, but I don't know how Campbell is holding on to those hard tyres. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, they can make the end. The hard tyres can go from first lap until last lap around almost every circuit in the game, but Baku, definitely not an easy test for them. They still get very worn. He's slipping and sliding all around the racetrack, and he's still managing to stay with Mahavir, as is the power of DRS on F124, but the fact that he was able to make a comeback from all the way in last place on the grid to potentially get a P5 and at least a P6 as long as he doesn't make another crucial error, it is an absolutely fantastic drive from him. And as long as he doesn't squabble too hard with Mahavir, he shouldn't find himself under pressure from Ioannidis and that train behind him. And it has just been an absolutely stellar drive from him, as we now are on the penultimate lap of this race. So Thomas Reid has this race with one hand on the trophy already, as long as he doesn't make a mistake. But Finns and Jamie are battling for P3. Then you have a battle for P5 that's swapping around right now with Campbell Adams in P5, Mahavir in P6. Then you have a 5-car train battling for P7, and it's all heating up here as they nearly go 3 wide down into turn 1. Ioannidis defending from Abyss as they head through turn 1, and he gets the bad end of it as well. He drops now down to P10 after a little bit of contact and a snap to boot as well, so not ideal for Ioannidis, and now he puts himself in a very hard position to try and get that P7 place. He won't be happy at all, but currently provisional P9. If he just gets past Viper, he'll still get a P8, which is where he was anyway in the grand scheme of things, but Kalki looking like he's going to hold on to the P7 place at the moment, but there's so many battles for position going on at this current stage on the penultimate lap. It's all heating up as they head towards lap 26 of 26.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's going to be a grand fight to the end for the final spot on the podium, as Dale Beveridge gets the fastest lap of the race, and it's gonna be a thriller here. Noodles all the way down in P10, and he's lost a lot of time from Kalki, so he's dropped back into the clutches of Abyss and Viper. So as it stands, he'll finish in P8, but no safety car around Baku. I think that deserves a round of applause to these drivers. Only 2 little incidences from the front wings, and that's about it. But now we're on to the final lap of the race, and I think first and second are solidified, but the battle we're going to be watching on is the battle for third.
Yeah, Jammy is pushing hard now. He gets overtaken by Finns with the DRS, but we've seen it a couple times this race. He gets overtaken into turn 1, then he re-overtakes into P3, but that was Finns not fighting. They both have battery on the final lap of this race. Is he going to defend? It looks like he is going to defend. Will Jammy be able to get past like he has done on previous laps? He's leaving the light flashing. He wants to move across the line. He wants a drag race towards the finish line on lap 26. He wants all the dramatics, all the theatrics here in the Baku City Street Circuit as they're on lap 26. A 26 for the podium place. It's a good chunk of points and also a good lot of bragging rights as well here in one of the hardest tracks on the F1 game and just in the F1 calendar in general. It's all going to come down to this between these two for the third place spot. Who's going to come out on top in this fight? Jammy or Finns? They battle away through the castle section and now they inch ever so close towards the final moment, towards the line. This is where it's all going to heat up. They head through. They finish the final sector in a corner's time and then they will be all the way flat out towards the line. So they head into the third sector right now. So Jammy has charged up the battery. So is Finns. It's going to be a drag race, but with the DRS and so close behind, surely Jammy's played this to perfection here in the Red Bull. But will Finns try and play any DRS chicken? Thomas Reid crosses the line, takes the race win with Chillo in P2. But here we go for the P3. It's going to be a drag race. DRS now open on the Red Bull as they head towards the line. It's going to be wheel to wheel across the line. Who's going to get it? Will it be Finns or Jammy? Finns takes the P3 position as he gets it over Jammy. And then there's a drag race and Campbell Adams just gets Mahavir by 200ths of a second. Kalki comes home in P7. Ioannidis gets P8. Farmer Sam gets P9. Viper gets P10. Abyss, with his 10-second time penalty, will come home in P11, still holding on to the back of his trainers across the line. Another drag race with Trent Newton Potato. But that doesn't matter as he had a 10-second. But Potato also finishes 5 thousandths behind Humphreys. He had a photo finish there as well. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Munnery gets P14. Trent, after his penalty, gets 15th. Beveridge will get the fastest lap and P16 just out of the points. ZK gets P17 and he spins as well. Loses his wing to boot. And then Warden and Rilo DNF as that is absolutely phenomenal stuff. As Finn saying 0-0 wings. That is why he was able to win the drag race.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think the wings that he was running pretty much helped him in his favour and gave him that P3. It was a stellar drive as well, especially from Campbell Adams, from dropping all the way down to pretty much P last in the second lap and coming home in a P5. I think that deserves my driver of the day.
Yeah, for sure. It was an incredible drive from the McLaren as they're all leaving the session. Jack Humphreys from the game gets driver of the day. He did start in last place. So your final order here in Azerbaijan is Thomas Reid, Oxchillo, then Finns, then Jammy, Campbell Adams, Mahavir, Kalki, Ioannidis, Farmer Sam, Viper rounds out your top 10, then Abyss, Humphreys, Potato, Munnery, Newton, Beveridge, ZK, Warden, and Rilo is your grid. So, that has been an absolutely fantastic race as we'll now get ready for the interviews. So, let's just quickly get the podium graphic all set up here, I think. We'll just hide the little Ferrari logo because Abyss didn't get on the podium. And hide McLaren. Get Williams up as we'll just quickly move into the podium VC for the drivers. So we have Chillo and Thomas Reed. We're just waiting on Finns to get interviews underway. There he is, as J-Rad will do the interviews.
We'll start off with P3. He's a GOAT in ACC, but as well, he's also solidified himself as on the podium for the Baku Grand Prix. Finns, welcome to the podium. It's a P3 for you. Tell us how you felt during the qualifying and pretty much your steps to the podium and pretty much defending your life against Jamie during pretty much, was it a 10, pretty much a whole race battle?
Oh, I just love this track, really. Yeah, so sweaty. 0-0 wings the whole race. I had a bit of wing for quali when I saw it was wet, so yeah, was even when it was dry and that a few minutes before the end, it was just ice skating, really. So yeah, at least the last run was nearly fully dry. But yeah, all right lap. Put myself in a good position and kept it clean on lap one, which is what I wanted. Saw Campbell got damage and thought he would stay out, but then he got even more damage when he hit the wall a second time and then pit, which left us out of DRS. But yeah, I didn't think I'd have the pace to keep up with Lefty and Ox anyway. So yeah, then the rest of the race, it was me overtaking Jamie on the front straight, him overtaking me on the second straight because he had wings, I didn't, and some laps I'd come from 1.3 seconds back and overtake him into turn one, hitting, I think, one lap where I actually did burn to overtake somebody. I hit 3:57, which was pretty nice. And yeah, it was really nice on the tyres, doing less than 1% wear per lap and keeping it consistent. And I knew that if I could just do exactly what I did on the last lap, even though he was only a tenth behind me coming onto that final straight, I'd seen the whole race. He was running quite a bit of wing. So yeah, I knew did a little bit better than I did against Oxshillow last time. Actually had a full battery this time and yeah, saved it all for the last little burst and he got close, but I knew I had the straight line speed to hold on without having to get too close to the pit wall. So yeah, so happy with that, and I think that's my first ever podium in Rapid. So yeah, I'm thrilled with that, really.
I'm glad you've learnt your lesson from last season, getting too close to the pit wall. But next week we'll be going to the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalunya. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about that circuit?
It's all right. I quite like tracks with low downforce, as you may have been able to tell tonight. But yes, it's all right. I'm not the best at it, but maybe just another 4th to 8th would be all right. Just wanting to keep it consistent like I have this season. So yeah, just don't bin it, don't get warnings, don't hit the bump at turn 13, just keep away from that curve and yeah, hopefully survive. So yeah, looking forward to it, and GG to the front two guys because I just had nothing on them in the middle sector, at least at the start when I needed to keep up with them. But yeah, good fun, and cheers to McJamie for working with me the entire race, even if I was a bit of a terrorist in the front straight.
Congratulations to you, mate, and enjoy that P3.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to P2, and I'm pretty sure now, as it stands, he retakes the championship lead as we head into the next round. Oxshillow, welcome to the podium. It's a P2 for you. You're pretty much holding hands with Thomas here the whole entire race, and then with about 6 laps to go, I think that the tyres definitely started to fall off the pace. But how did you feel during qualifying and the race itself? It looks like you had a great time out there.
Yeah, quali wasn't ideal, didn't do the best lap, but still knew I could do something from P3. And then yeah, first lap I saw Campbell die, so I knew it's going to be a 2-horse race. And then the whole race was so boring. I was just talking too much, not concentrating, and all of a sudden left had gapped me. So, not happy with that. I should have been paying more attention. And probably, yeah, a very stupid mistake. One of my worst races this season. GG to Lefty though. He made full advantage of me being an idiot and gapped me. So GG on him for the win. But I'm not very happy with that one.
No, I figured as much as well. You feel like you could have. I think from your standpoint, you could have done a lot better. But look, at the end of the day, at least the pit bull didn't bite you again. So that's fine. But from your standpoint, we move to Spain for the next round. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that track?
Spain's a good track for me, apart from the last corner. I'm not sure how we can even do the race with how the last corner is. I've hit the bump, not even being on the curb, so it's just going to be luck who survives if we race, but we'll see what happens.
Most definitely, but enjoy that P2 as well. Congratulations to you.
Thanks, bro.
As we'll now move on to P1, left for Den. Pretty much taking control of the whole race. Pretty much you had your best friend Oxchillo with you, holding hands during the race, and then with about 6 laps to go, you pulled away from him, and that was the end all be all. And it looks like you pretty much had pace from the start of the race to the end. But tell us, how'd you feel in the car? What was qualifying like from your standpoint, because you had done a faster lap, or what was your thought process, and especially going into the race?
Yeah, obviously qualifying wasn't ideal with the changing conditions. Drying up at the end, we kind of had a cooked setup on, so I think in terms of going faster, I think yes, I think I could have gone a lot faster, but I think that was the case with everyone. I don't think anyone really got a perfect lap in. I know at least not in the top 3 anyway, so it was probably going to end up being something like that anyway to start the race. Yeah, going on to the race, I saw Campbell was not enjoying the first 2 turns, and I saw it as an opportunity to burn past and go through, and unfortunately ended up getting damaged. So it was just me and Oxchillo, and then for 19 laps we kind of just held hands. He followed me through, I followed him through. We kind of just extended our gap, and then I was kind of getting sick of all the yapping in the VC, probably at about the same time that Oxchillo lost a bit of concentration, so I deafened and started driving a little bit better. At the same time, he lost, like he said, he lost a bit of concentration and wasn't driving too well, so it kind of doubled up and allowed me to break that gap, which I just maintained until the end of the race. But all in all, it was pretty boring. GG's to Oxchillo for obviously keeping it on track, and we went side by side into turn 1 once and he didn't put me in the wall, so I'm pretty grateful for that. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, just had pretty much pure pace here as well. Next week we're going to the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalonia. What do you feel about that circuit?
It's a track. I haven't really raced it on this game due to all the bugs and stuff, so I don't even think I've got a setup for it at the moment, but we'll see what comes about in a week's time.
Yeah, most definitely. Lindsay, any thoughts, any comments to these boys before we go?
No, not at all. Absolutely fantastic race from everyone all around. Congratulations to the top 3 on the result. I have been Lindsay Muddle, and I've been joined by J-Rad in the comms box. That has been Rapid Racing Tier number 1, Tier 3, and Tier 4 will be in the next 2 days, so stay tuned and watch those ones. But for now,